First of all, please click the subscribe button so you can get more of my videos, and check the disclaimer out in the description box below. I've been very critical of the Tories' economic bailouts in many regards, both the bailouts to businesses, the business loan scheme, which hardly any businesses are taking up because HMRC and the government have failed to force banks to lend because they won't underwrite, or currently they're not underwriting the loans at 100%, they're only underwriting them at 80%, which is causing many banks in this time of uncertainty to lend. But there are cracks even in their furlough scheme. Their furlough scheme, which gives people 80% of their salaries, only salaried income though, doesn't account for bonuses and other types of income, gives them 80% capped up to £2,500. But unfortunately, the scheme is leaving potentially hundreds of thousands of people in no man's land. People who have started a new job or were going to start a new job for a new employer in March, or seasonal workers who were beginning to work at holiday parks, etc., where they can't be furloughed because although the government have extended the cut-off date from the 28th of February to the 19th of March, the problem is there's a catch in that the new employer had to have put the individual's details on their payroll system, and they had to have sent that information, the real-time information, to HMRC by the 19th of March. Well, the vast majority of employers, around 85%, according to the Office for National Statistics, pay monthly. So the payment would typically be on the last Friday or the last working day of the month. And according to people like Martin Lewis, like the 92% of employers who responded to his poll, the vast majority of employers will only send that RTI information to HMRC within 10 days of the payment. And so if they're paying on the last day of the month or close to the last day of the month, they will not have sent generally that information to HMRC by the 19th of March, because obviously that's outside of 10 days. So what this means is that potentially thousands and thousands of people gain no benefit from this change in date, and the vast majority who move to a new firm will not be able to be furloughed. Still, the vast majority of those workers who moved to a new firm in March, and the seasonal workers and stuff, will not be able to be furloughed. Now that is completely unfair. These are, when you're an honest person and you've paid tax all your life and you work hard, you work 40 odd hours a week, you, under extreme time like this, where the government's decided to do a lockdown and the economy, no one truly knows what the effects are going to be on the economy, but when the government has not implemented by law a rent and bills holiday, people are going to be facing life. Thousands and thousands of these people that can't be furloughed will have to go onto universal credit. And there's even stories of people that can't do that. They cannot be put onto universal credit because they're still technically employed by another employer, but the other employer cannot furlough them. So there are people that are just left in complete dire straits, and that is completely wrong. The government must immediately amend this so that all these workers can be furloughed. It is utterly ridiculous that in unprecedented times of a pandemic, that they're bothered about a bit of fraud when we need to give people cash. The alternative would have been to give everyone a universal basic income, and there were strong arguments for why they should have done that. But instead, they did it through this system, through the employers and stuff, and it's missing hundreds of thousands of people. In fact, if you follow Paul Lewis and you read his blog, it is actually true that there are millions of people that fall through these furlough and self-employed scheme because it doesn't assist people. It doesn't assist owner workers like PSC companies, of which there are thousands and thousands, who pay themselves in dividends because dividends have been excluded, and it doesn't assist people who earn a large proportion of their salary in bonuses and commission, like a lot of salespeople may have a very small salary where they can get insurance on it, but the bonuses that they would typically get are not covered. And there are many other reasons why insurance schemes are missing people, like all those that have only just started being self-employed in the last year. A lot of them will not get assistance. Those people that earn less than half their income on a self-employed basis can't apply for the insurance for the scheme on that self-employed income, even if they only earn a small amount of money in an employed fashion. They may make 50% and half or 75-25, but it's still maybe less than $2.5 grand a month. So why should they not get insurance up to the $2.5 grand on all their income, no matter where it comes from? And apparently, hundreds of thousands of sole directors of limited companies will also be excluded from this scheme, or will not have the majority of their income insured. The Enterprise Research Centre that does research into small and medium enterprises have found that under their analysis, and I'm going to put a link below, around 750,000 self-employed people will miss out on this scheme. That includes people that have just become self-employed, people that have it as their main job, and people who have it as a second job to earn extra income. That's a significant amount of people that won't be getting insurance on their self-employed job. And that excludes, under their analysis, the directors of limited companies that operate as sole directors, which again, there are hundreds of thousands of them. So in reality, there are going to be millions of people overall on these economic packages that are missing out, and that is completely unfair when we're in a pandemic. The government have to step in. Sunak has to change these schemes. We already know the business loan schemes has been a disaster because it has because the government is not underwriting the full 100%, among other reasons. The banks are not lending, essentially. And so thousands and thousands are being rejected. Many of them are being missed off the official figures because they're inquiring with the bank, and the banks are telling them, oh listen, you won't be eligible based on the terms. They're not actually sending an official application and then being rejected, and even then only I think 20% of the people that actually fully apply are granted the loans. So millions of businesses are potentially going to go bust in the next few months if they don't get access to these loans. But the government's terms are not right. They need to urgently address this. Otherwise, millions of workers that have had nothing to do with this crisis are going to be facing misery. And they need to significantly increase universal credit and statutory sick pay from the pathetic £410 a month, this very small figure. They need to urgently address that and double it, if not more, because it is nowhere near where people need to be to live on. In comparable countries in Europe, they're paid significantly more than that. So this is why it is dangerous to vote for the Tories, because they're an entity that represent the establishment, the big major companies in Britain, and well-off individuals. That's what they represent. And so that's why many small businesses, unfortunately, are falling through the cracks, and that's why many workers are falling through the cracks. If we had a Labour government, they would be protecting much more people.